Welcome everyone, and thank you for attending the webinar today. My name is Kara, and I'm with the LTAP Center here at ODOT, and I'll be your host for the webinar. Today's webinar is day 3 of the Veteran and Small Owned Businesses webinar series, Navigating Ohio's Small Business Journey, and we're thrilled to have many knowledgeable presenters here to share critical aspects of certifications, expectations, and seizing growth in Ohio's business landscape. Before we begin, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items to ensure a smooth webinar experience for everyone. If you have any questions during the presentation, please use the questions panel on your screen. You can type your questions there and we'll address them during the Q&A session after each presenter. If you're experiencing any technical difficulties or have any other issues, feel free to use the chat panel to communicate with our team and we'll do our best to assist you. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and the recording will be made available to all registered attendees after the session. All right, with that out of the way, let's get started. It's my pleasure to hand it over to Lorraine Stevens and Abram Andrews Jr. Lorraine and Abram, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you, Kara. Welcome to part 3, Ready, Set, Succeed, Forward March, Mobilizing for Success with State Certification to Seize Opportunities. In this episode, we dive into the critical aspects of certification, expectations, and seizing growth in Ohio business landscape. This session serves as a guide for business to prepare effectively, become updated on current changes, and opportunities to leverage resources for growth and success. So hello, my name is Lorraine Stevens. I am an outreach manager for Central and Southeast Ohio for the Ohio Department of Transportation in the Division of Opportunity, Diversity, and Inclusion. I will be your host for today's series. Welcome again for part 3. In this session, we'll explore the essential role of state certifications and how they can unlock significant growth opportunities in Ohio's business landscape. Abram?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abram Andrews. I am the director for the Veteran Business Outreach Center for Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana. I want to welcome you all for joining us today. We've had an exciting part 1 and part 2 of series, and today is part 3. So please make sure that you have your pads and papers and pens ready to take good notes, ask many questions. This is your time. Take advantage of it. We have a great lineup today with plenty of resource partners to provide you with great resource information. I want to thank you all for joining us today, and from VetBiz Central, the Veteran Business Outreach Center for Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you soon.
So our first speaker is Kool-Aid Brown. He is a Special Projects Coordinator at ECDI, where he specializes in helping entrepreneurs and business owners navigate every stage of their business journey. So from the initial idea to opening day and beyond, Kool-Aid works one-on-one with clients, offering hands-on support to ensure they are well prepared for growth. This includes everything from crafting detailed business plans to securing funding and developing scalable strategies. In addition to the individual consultations, Kool-Aid teaches a wide range of workshops and training classes covering critical topics such as business planning, financial management, marketing strategy, and operational efficiency. Their goal was to equip clients with the knowledge and tools they need to succeed long term. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Kool-Aid.
Thank you so much, Lorraine, for that presentation, or for that introduction. Do I have access to this?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So to start with navigating all of the resources in the state of Ohio and learning more about certifications, let's just start with the bare basics of Mobilizing for Success with State Certifications. So today, let's learn about state certifications themselves. Sorry. This should not be blank. Well, that's okay. I'm going to introduce some of the few certifications in the state of Ohio that you can sign up for. So the first one is called MBE certification. That stands for Minority Business Enterprise. That is designated for minority-owned and minority-ran businesses. The essential eligibility for this is that the business needs to be at least 51% minority owned. This is for US citizens and residents in the state of Ohio. So you do need to be registered in the state of Ohio as a resident, and that the business needs to be at least 51% minority owned. Within that, those minority groups could be Black or African American, American Indian, Hispanic or Latino, and Asian. The second certification is WBE eligibility. That is Women Business Enterprise. With this certification, it's the same thing. You do need to be a U.S. citizen and a resident of Ohio. To get this certification, your business needs to be at least 51% women-owned and operating for at least 1 year prior to applying for this. Another opportunity that you can sign up for is called VFBE. That is Veteran Friendly Business Enterprise. Eligibility for this is that you need to be 51% veteran owned, and you need to be the business needs to be certified by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs to be able to get this certification. Last one that I want to talk about is the EDGE certification. For this certification, the business needs to be owned by a U.S. citizen who is a resident of Ohio, and the owner needs to be socially and economically disadvantaged, or that they need to live in a qualified census tract to be able to be eligible for this opportunity. Oh, that is where that was. Okay. So benefits of having a state certification. Reason why you want to get a state certification is because you gain access to government and corporate contracts. So there's a lot of public and private contracts that are designated specifically to minority businesses, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, and those businesses who are economically and socially disadvantaged. So benefit to that is when you have that, you gain access to that. You will be certified as one of those business owners who can be able to get these contracts. It also increases your visibility in the state and local markets. So as you have these certifications, all of the different people who work within those spaces, those who are SBA partners who are looking for businesses who are specifically certified will be able to highlight you, will be able to ask you to come as a panelist, or maybe even refer you out to businesses who are looking to offer those opportunities to those who are certified. And then you also get to enhance your credibility with potential clients and partners. Again, being certified, the partner is not going to be taking a risk of you not being certified as a veteran-owned business or as a women-owned business when they're looking to work with those specific business ventures or opportunities. So, steps to obtain a state certification. There are a lot of eligibility requirements. When you're looking to obtain whatever the certification is, please make sure that you're going to the Ohio Department of Development. Go over there on their website. They actually show you what the specific certifications are for every single certification. So know which one you're looking to apply for. Read through what are the things that you're going to need. Start collecting all of your documentation, paperwork. Make sure that your business has already filed for your taxes and has all of that in place, because that's going to make it so much easier when you're looking to apply for this opportunity. And then with the application process, you need to know how to apply for it, whether or not you are going to apply for it directly by yourself, or if you're going to be working with one of the SBA partners and resources. So I would always say reach out to your local SBA if you don't know how to do that certification, or if you read through the certification process and it seems very daunting, if they're asking a lot of information from you, or if you just would feel better with getting assistance and help. And again, be prepared. So read through the certification, know what it is that you need, have all of that ready, start collecting everything on your end for you to get that, and then reach out to a SBA partner to help you and walk you through that application process. So some of the challenges that I've seen when people are looking to get a certification is sometimes you have incomplete documentation. When you're signing to get that certification, please make sure that you are reading every single part that is required. And there are certain things that will be in the eligibility that could be a little tricky. Do not assume that because you read it this way and you're interpreting this way, that that's what they mean. If you are unsure, always assume that you are unsure and reach out with an SBA resource to help you clarify whatever that is. Because if you assume and you turn in the paperwork, you could be denied, and that could take time on when it is that you can reapply. Misunderstanding eligibility is another thing. A lot of entrepreneurs talk with each other, and there are misconceptions that are brought because of that. So just because you heard somebody said I did it this way, or because somebody else was able to do another way, don't just assume that you can do it that way, or don't assume that that is the correct way to do it. If you are unsure about it, always check and verify. And then failing to maintain the certification. A lot of the certifications do have a required time that you need to recertify. So when you're getting the certification or after you get the certification, please make sure that you know how long it's good for, what it is that you can specifically do with it, and when is the time that you need to renew it. Compliance is another thing. When you have these certifications, the certification can be taken away from you if you are not staying in compliance or if you are misusing the certification itself. So as I mentioned with the resources, Apex Accelerators is a great resource for once you do receive that certification. They will help you get state and local contracts that will get you connected within the space and help you navigate within those contracts and how to get them. Your SBA is going to be the great resource for you to navigate you to the local government, to the local resources that are closest to you to help you get whatever that certification is. And the Ohio Business Gateway is a great place to check on different certifications and how to apply for them. So those are just the bare basics of certifications, what they are, what you can use them for, and why it is you should get them, and also how to get them. I kept it very short, so that is the end of my presentation. Are there any questions?
Currently, Kool-Aid, we do not have any questions for you. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them in the question box.
Where do I find the question box?
I share the questions with you, so I'm the intermediary, so I'll go between the two of you.
Okay, gotcha. Well, if there's no other questions, then I will continue forward then.
Yep, we don't have any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We can skip that.
Okay, well, thank you, Kool-Aid. I really appreciate it. That was very informative. Yeah, today is all about state certifications, how to leverage that, and what opportunities you can gain using it for the state of Ohio. So again, thank you and great information. I would like to now introduce Kathy Armstrong-Sapp. Kathy Armstrong has joined the Columbus Urban League Minority Business Assistance Center team in February of 2021 as a certification and outreach specialist. For 30 years, she has served in various capacities, including EEO contract officer, technical management unit member, and assistant fiscal officer. So during her tenure as a compliance officer and traveled throughout the state, introducing countless training sessions for state agencies and businesses regarding the requirements of enforcing diversity, growth, and equity and minority business MBE programs. So as a certification and outreach specialist for the MBAC, Kathy is responsible for supporting clients seeking to obtain business certification with the state of Ohio, as well as with other agencies and municipalities. She will serve as the Columbus region's 18 county service area, developing relationships, marketing MBAC services, and providing one-on-one consulting and training. Her other duties include client intake, service coordinator, CRM, and various support services. Kathy, go ahead and take it away.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I am the Certification Outreach Specialist for the Columbus Urban League, and I am going to turn my, I just wanted everyone to see me, and then I'm going to turn my camera off. So as Mr. Brown spoke before, he talked about certification. So I also do certification at the Columbus Urban League. And so we cover the four same ones: minority business enterprise. I'm trying to click on.
There we go.
So we also do the same exact thing. So the minority business enterprise, again, is the state of Ohio MBE established a 15% procurement requirement for the state for the agencies, board, and commissions. And then you must meet the MBE's program as ethnic-based program design. So what are those for? Is African Americans or Blacks, American Indian, Asian, Hispanics, or Latinos. So in here we have it all broke down as each one is broken down to all persons have an origin of any Black racial groups of Africa. American Indians, all persons who maintain culture and have origin in a federal recognized Indian tribe as listed in the current federal registered notice of Indian entities recognized and eligibility to receive services from the U.S. Bureau of Indian Affairs. Then the Asians, all persons having origins in any of the original people of the Far East, including China, Japan, and Southeast Asia. India has been included in the definition of Asia. Palestine has included because of the countries came about of the division from India. And then again, our Hispanic and Latinos, all persons of Spanish or Portuguese cultures with origins in Mexico, South or Central American and Caribbean islands, regardless of race. So when we're talking about MBE, each business must be both one, for profit, and two, have been in operation for at least 1 year prior to the application. And the benefit of being MBE is contract assistance, financial and bonding assistance, and management and technical assistance. Certified businesses are listed in a searchable database that this Department of Development has out there for us. Then our second one is encouraging diversity, growth, and equity, which we call the EDGE. The EDGE is a 5% goal currently set for state agencies, boards, and commission, as well as the guidelines for state universities in awarding contracts to certify EDGE businesses. The EDGE program is a gender and neutral program designed to assist socially and economically disadvantaged business. So this one here, it covers construction, architectural, and engineering, professional services, goods and services, and IT, which is our information technology services. Again, owned and controlled by the U.S. citizen and owned residents, which is both socially and economically disadvantaged. So if we go down, it tells you who are the social disadvantaged and economically disadvantaged. So the social disadvantage is ethnic, female gender, chronic physical or mental disability, business owner, long-term residence in an environment isolated from the mainstream or American society. An example for like hub, additionally, when it's going through the hub, they must be 35% of their workforce must live in a hub zone as well. As the economically disadvantaged, person's net worth is less than $750,000 at the time of the application. So if you are married, you would split that directly down the middle. So both would, husband and wife will split that and qualify for the application. And then the last 3 years of the adjusted gross income must be less than $350,000. It cannot exceed U.S. Small Business Administration small business standard size, and based on the NAC codes, could average gross receipts or employees. Fair market value of the assets must be less than $6 million. So the benefits of being EDGE is Certified EDGE program participants are eligible for contract assistance, financial and bonding assistance, and management and technical assistance. Procurement for contracts, certified business are listed also in the searchable database. An opportunity to complete for state contracts, boards, commission, universities, which must meet annual EDGE spending goals. Women-owned business enterprise, which is our WBE. The state of Ohio WBE program is designed to assist women-owned business in obtaining contracts. Additionally, the program provides certified companies and opportunities to receive reciprocity certification with other states. If any agreement between the states is in place, WBE certified became available October 9th of 2020. So with this one here, the benefits of being EDGE women certified is certified women participants are eligible for contract assistance, management and technical assistance, ability to utilize Ohio's WBE program to apply for certification with the state, doing business in those states as a WBE certified business. And again, with the WBE, you must be owned and controlled by a woman who is U.S. citizen. Residence is in Ohio. And we do have reciprocal state. We do have that as, which is in the revised code. So we do have that in place as well. Veteran friendly business enterprise. The state of Ohio VBE program established procedures for applying a preference to bid or proposals for state contracts. The program is an ethnic and gender neutral program that provides price preference or proposal bonus points to certified companies that complete to contract with the state to supply the goods and services in needs, including eligibility construction services, I'm sorry. So with this one here, 1 out of the 4 criteria must be met. At least 51% owned and controlled by a veteran or persons on active service. At least 51% of the board directors are veterans or persons on active service. Business certified by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs as service disabled, veterans owned small business or veterans owned small business, and owner meets the definition of a veteran. And at least 10% of the business employees are veterans or on active duty. So what are the benefits for being VBF? The VBF program applies to state agencies, purchases by bids or proposal under the Ohio Revised Code. Prices on bids submitted by veterans friendly business to exceed those prices on bids submitted by businesses not certified as veteran friendly, but up to 5% and still be eligible for winning contracts. Scores on proposals submitted by veteran friendly business is up to 5% lower than the proposal scores submitted by business not certified as veteran friendly and still eligible for winning the award. And Stacy Cornett is the Deputy Chief Officer of Business Certification for the Department of Development.
Well, thank you, Kathy. I really appreciate that. Kara, do we have any questions, or we can take this time to open up for any questions?
There are not any questions as of right now.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Kathy. No, that's fine. Thank you, Kathy. That was a great presentation, a lot of great information. So we are now going to go ahead and move on to Amy Paz. She serves as the DBE certification specialist with the Division of Opportunity, Diversity, and Inclusion at the Ohio Department of Transportation. So in this role, she reviews complaints, conducts investigations of DBE firms, works on DBE appeal files, and reviews complex DBE applications. So before assuming the role of DBE certification specialist in 2022, Amy held the position of certification analyst. As a certification analyst, she reviewed and analyzed certification applications and supporting documentation. She conducted interviews with small business owners to determine their qualifications for the DBE and SBE program as outlined by the federal regulations. I am now going to go ahead. I'm going to turn this presentation over to
Thank you, Lorraine. Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Paz, and I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to turn off my camera. Do I have access to my slides?
You should. Hang on one moment. We've lost. Oh, there's Lorraine.
Yep. So Amy, you did have access. I'm going to go ahead and give you access again. Just click on the slides and click enter. Okay.
Okay. They're not moving.
Go ahead.
Okay, there we go. Okay, today I will be going over the DBE and ACDBE programs, the eligibility requirement for these certifications, the 2024 USDOT new rule, the SBE program, and our new diversity management system, B2G now. The Disadvantaged Business Enterprise DBE program is designed to remedy ongoing discrimination and the continuing effects of past discrimination in federally assisted highway, transit, airport, and highway safety markets nationwide. The primary goal and objective of the DBE program is to level the playing field by providing small businesses owned and controlled by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals a fair opportunity to compete for federally funded transportation contracts. The DBE program eligibility guidelines state that the firm must be at least 51% owned and controlled by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. The firm must be a small business as defined by SBA size standards. Firms must meet both SBA and DBE statutory cap. The DBE statutory cap is the 3-year average of annual gross receipts, including the firm affiliates gross receipts, which cannot exceed $30.72 million. The 5-year average of the annual gross receipts, including the firm's affiliate gross receipts, which cannot exceed the next code side standards. The disadvantaged individual or individuals applying must have a personal net worth of less than 2.047 million. Finally, the DBE applicant firm must be an independent for-profit business. Women, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, Asian Pacific, and subcontinent Asian Americans are presumed to be socially disadvantaged. Other individuals can also qualify as socially disadvantaged on a case-by-case basis. However, the burden of proof lies with the applicant. The 2024 new rule background. On April 9, 2024, the U.S. Department of Transportation announced revisions to its rule for administrating its Disadvantaged Business Enterprise program. The new rule follows a notice of proposed rulemaking published on July 21st of 2022. The rule went into effect on May 9, 2024, and the major objectives of the rule include modernizing existing principles to improve provisions for the benefit of program participants, to reduce burdens on firms and recipients, to grow firm capacity and owner wealth, and to improve program integrity, visibility, and data collected by the USDOT. There are also now updated forms for applicants and currently certified firms, such as an updated UCP application, updated PNW statement, and a declaration of eligibility. Socially and economic disadvantaged owners are now referred to as the CEDO or CEDOs if there's more than one socially and economically disadvantaged owner. There was no change made to the presumptive groups. For those individuals who are not presumed disadvantaged groups, the Appendix E was removed from the regulation and now requires a detailed personal narrative explaining the individual's personal experiences and circumstances that have occurred within American society. The personal narrative must concisely describe the what and the how and the negative impacts the discrimination caused, unique facts, personalized experiences, and a robust proof of the disadvantage. The personal net worth, or PNW, has increased from 1.32 million to 2.047 million, and that is an amount that has not been adjusted since 2011. The PNW will be adjusted every 3 years, ensuring it reflects current economic and financial conditions, and it now also excludes retirement assets altogether. The PNW calculations exclude the primary residence, the equity in the applicant firm, and the retirement accounts. The PNW includes equity in other business interests, the full value of the contents of the primary residence unless it is co-inhabited with a spouse or domestic partner. In that case, they can exclude 50% of those assets. The PNW also includes the value of all motor vehicles, including watercraft and ATVs that are titled in the name of the principal owner, and assets transferred within the last 2 years when the assets transferred have an aggregate value of more than $20,000. Economic disadvantage can be rebutted based on a reasonable person's perspective. As I have previously discussed, the business size is determined by the next code SBA size standard and based on the most recent 5-year average gross receipts of the firm and its affiliates. Business size is also determined by the DBE statutory cap, which is a 3-year average of 30.72 million. The gross receipts are based off the cost of goods sold plus the total income, and the firm must report its gross receipts using cash basis accounting, regardless of the firm's choice of accounting method. The firm can report their gross receipts to the UCP using federal filed income tax returns, financial statements, or an attestation signed by their CPA. Tax extensions are no longer permitted to be used. The ownership regulations were revised to include very specific requirements on how ownership is allowed to take place. Essentially, a CETO must have contributed a significant amount of cash, and the contribution cannot be withdrawn from the company. The investment must always remain proportional to any other owner of the firm. If the CETO does not contribute cash but is gifted their ownership, they can only count if the person who gifted the equity is no longer involved in the company in all capacities. For example, if a parent gifted their company to their child, they would not qualify unless the parent no longer works for or controls any aspect of the company. There are also specific provisions on debt finance instruments. If you utilize a loan to purchase all or part of your ownership, you must have paid at least 15% of the total cost of that ownership with your personal funds and be the sole debtor. The firm cannot be a party to the loan in any capacity, including as a guarantor or the owner relying on the firm's resources to repay or finance the debt. It must be a standard loan with regular recurring payments of principal and interest. Loan forgiveness, cancellation, or a default would render a firm ineligible. Another section of the regulation that was adjusted within the new rule focuses on control of the firm. Several items that were listed in the previous version of the regulations were removed, but they can still be considered when evaluating control. Essentially, when evaluating control, we must look at the big picture in order to determine that at least one CETO is the one running the show and is the ultimate decision maker in the firm. The new rule on interstate certification streamlines, simplifies, and reduces burdens on the firm and takes a significant step towards nationwide reciprocity. The term home state was removed by the regulation and it was replaced with jurisdiction of original certification, otherwise known as JOC. Most likely a firm will still initially apply in the seat that it resides in or its principal place of business. The principal place of business means the location where the individuals who manage the firm's day-to-day operations spend most of their working hours. Still, there may be cases where they pursue certification initially through a different unified certification program or UCP, and if that seat reviews the firm, it will be considered the JOC. More on interstate certification. The new rule expedites interstate certification process through less burdensome procedures. The firm must be certified within 10 business days. Requirements for the certification are now limited to a cover letter with its application that specifies that the DBE is applying for interstate certification, and it identifies all the UCPs in which the DBE is certified, including the UCP that it originally certified in. We would also need an electronic image of the UCP directory of the original UCP that shows the DBE certification and a new declaration of eligibility. The firm may still be reviewed once certified, and then the seat must send the file to the other seats on behalf of the firm. And there is also only one DOE for the firm. The DOE, which is the annual declaration of eligibility, is filed on the JOC's anniversary date. And this is a major change because most firms, I mean, in the past, the firms had to be, had different eligibility based on the seats that they were certified in. So that's a big change and a good one. And then decertification proceedings can be started by any state in which a firm is certified in. Prior to issuing the notice of intent for removal, the information will be sent to all states a firm is certified in to receive input or concurrence on the issue. Concurrence is not necessary to move forward. If a firm is removed in one state, the firm is removed in all states. The firm will have the right to request a hearing within 10 days of that decision, though. Additional changes and updates to the DBE program include that the regulations now require a firm to have operations in the business for which it seeks DBE certification at the time it applies. However, this does not apply to ACDBE firms. The time to appeal UCP decision changed from 90 days to 45 days. The notary requirement for the DBE applications have been removed. The UCP is only required to send notifications to a firm by email. UCPs are no longer required to send certified mail to communicate with the firm. Curative measures were added to the regulations. This means that a certifier may notify the firm of any eligibility concerns and give the firm time to remedy impediments to certification. The firm may take curative action and present evidence of such up to the time of the certifier's decision. On-site reviews are now required to be recorded and also allows for both in-person and virtual on-site reviews. Decision extensions are limited to only 30 days, and the annual no change affidavits are now called annual declaration of eligibility. The ACDBE is an acronym for Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. An ACDBE is a for-profit business that serves the traveling public. They are small businesses as defined by the ACDBE size standard. They must be owned 51% or more by socially and economically disadvantaged individual or individuals. An ACDBE must also be managed and controlled by a CEDO or CEDOs. The new rule added, clarified, and aligned the ACDBE program definitions with the new DBE program definitions. The Small Business Enterprise, or SBE program, was established to ensure that small businesses receive fair opportunities to participate as prime contractors in ODOT contracting and consulting activities. The eligibility requirements are the same as for DBEs, except the firm must perform work in construction or construction-related consulting services. The firm must intend to participate in ODOT contracting and consulting activities as a prime contractor, and the firm must be capable of performing or exercising responsibility for at least 30% of the total cost of a construction or construction-related consultant services contract within its own workforce. The firm, including its affiliates, must have an average annual receipts of no more than $15 million for construction firms and $7 million for construction-related consultant services over its past 3 fiscal years. This amount would be prorated if the firm is less than 3 years old. Also, the SBE program is race and gender neutral. And then finally, B2G Now is the business diversity software system that is designed to streamline compliance and simplify processes in ODOT's diversity programs. There are currently over 400 organizations using B2G Now, including DOTs, other governmental organizations, educational organizations, medical associations, and larger general contractors. ODOT is currently using OneSpan for signed submissions for certification-related files, and B2G Now will replace that. In B2G Now, DBE and SBE applications will be electronically completed and submitted. Applicants will be able to check the status of their applications via the B2G Now portal, and applicants and certified firms will have access to any documents submitted through the B2G Now platform in the portal. If you have already used B2G Now, all of your records within the system will pretty much look the same as they do, like if you use them in another state or another local government agency. This is ODOT's B2G Now portal. If you already have an account within B2G Now, there's a tab for vendor login, and you will enter in your username and password, which is right here. Oh, let me go back, hold on. On the top right-hand side of the page, You can also contact customer support for assistance with the B2G Now system, such as customer support, technical support, and general inquiries. You can also access ODOT's main site that has information on the Ohio's Unified Certification Program. So the support would be right here, and then our main site is right there. And then this, when you scroll down, there are more options available. In this section, you are able to apply for or renew your certification, search the DBE and SBE directories, view outreach opportunities sponsored by ODOT's outreach team, and also search upcoming events. There are also tabs on this side, the right-hand side, in order for you to enroll in training if you want to get more information about the system. And they're extremely helpful, especially if you're new to the B2G Now system. There's also information for current vendors, and then there is the account lookup, forgot password, so you can look up your account if you already have one and maybe forgot your password. ODOT's B2G Now system went live on September 9th of 2024. ODOT is hosting 2 webinars to explain and review the system with certified vendors. One of the webinars took place on September 9th. The other one is going to take place on September 25th. At this time, vendors can still submit their documentation using OneSpan. However, starting on October 14th, we will require all documentation to be completed within the B2G Now system. And that's all for my presentation. If you have any questions regarding the material that I went over today, please take down my information and feel free to reach out to me directly. I would be happy to assist you in any way possible. And thank you for having me today.
Oh, thank you, Amy. That was a great presentation. It really was. There's so many certifications out there and just trying to figure out who has what and then all of the updates. So you did a great job and we really appreciate it. Kara, can you check to see if we have any questions for Amy?
There are no questions at this time.
Wow, wonderful. Okay, well, you guys are doing such a great job. That's why there's no questions. So again, thank you, Amy. I appreciate it. So now I would like to introduce Dan De Niro and Michelle Kelly. So Dan is the purchasing and travel manager in the Division of Finance with over 13 years of dedicated service to the state of Ohio. And Dan has accumulated a wealth of experience across various roles, including payroll, HR, revenue management, and procurement. And Michelle, who's joining him as well, has been with the state of Ohio for almost 20 years in a variety of roles and is currently the pay card administrator and operating purchasing lead for the Office of Accounting. Dan, I'm going to go ahead and give you rights to your presentation. And please go ahead and begin.
Awesome. Thanks, Lorraine. Appreciate it. Go ahead and see if this works. Perfect. All right, guys. Very glad to be here today. I'm going to get right into it and talk about doing business with the Ohio Department of Transportation. Try and share as much helpful information as we can today. Just to give a brief summary of what we will go into, I'll do a short introduction and we'll talk about an overview of our ODOT purchasing team. We will start to touch on the requirements for doing business with the state of Ohio. We can get into how businesses approach ODOT and other state agencies as well for contracting opportunities, and discuss types of things ODOT buys, how and when we buy them. Any sort of questions that are procurement related, we will do our best to answer. So moving on, as an overview of the ODOT purchasing team, like I said, I've already introduced myself, and Michelle Kelly has a brief introduction as well. If she is with us, I will turn things over to her and let her continue the presentation.
Hello, I'm Michelle Kelly. Good afternoon. Just some contact information for our purchasing team. We deal with only operating goods and services in regards to procurement for Department of Transportation. There is our contact information. It is a group email, so there are multiple people looking at it daily. As for the Department of Transportation, we are a decentralized agency, whereas we have a central office and then there are 12 districts. Within those districts, there are different counties, and we handle a lot of the purchasing and the RFQs, which are request for quotes. Those are mainly just one-time purchases. We identify a need and we submit an RFQ through currently through Ion Wave. If you want to go to the next slide. Or do I have access? Okay. So just to begin, in order to do business with the state of Ohio and Department of Transportation, you do have to be a registered supplier. As a bidder, you can bid on RFQs or request for quotes without being fully registered, but you cannot get into business. We cannot cut a purchase order or enter into any type of agreement or contract until you are registered with the state of Ohio. There are 2 systems that you will need to register with. The first one is Ohio Pays. This is where you will register to do business with the state of Ohio. Once you are registered within Ohio Pays, you will be registered for the entire state, not just Department of Transportation. Within the system, you can monitor payments, you can update your profile, whether it's your address, EFT, any kind of contact information. While Ohio Pays is the system to register with, we at ODOT do not manage that system. That system is actually managed by the Office of Budget and Management, or OBM, and there is that contact information. So to do business, first you need to create an OHID. You need to register with Ohio Pays, and that will give you access to bid and quote on RFQs within the system. So what is an RFQ? It is a request for quote. It is us saying we have identified a need. We need a specific item. We currently do those RFQs through a system called Ion Wave. It is an e-quoting system. It is specific to ODOT. The RFQs are posted by either central office, purchasing team, which is our team, or the district fiscal officers. Unfortunately, we will only be in that system through October 21st. As of October 21st, we will be changing quoting systems from Ion Wave to Ohio Buys. So until October 21st, you can register with Ion Wave and look at any RFQs posted. When you do register with Ion Wave, make sure they have what are called commodity codes. And these are the codes that we pick that best define the item we're looking for. So if we're looking for a specific large oven for our test lab, we would put the commodity codes that cover machinery and the like. Within Ion Wave, you can manage your company profile and any user profile. Best practices, ask questions regarding any RFQ. When an RFQ is issued, it is issued for at least 10 business days, with questions being allowed up until the 8th day. Make sure to read all terms and conditions carefully. You must acknowledge that they've been read and that you agree to them in order to do business with us. Also, you have to provide any required attachments. There's a form called the affirmation and disclosure form that will have to be completed, signed, and resubmitted with your quote for the RFQ. And I believe Dan will be taking over for the actual ODOT contracting and purchasing authority.
Yeah, Yep, I'll take it from here. Thanks, Michelle. So we did just want to touch on as well. ODOT actually, we do have contracting and purchasing authority granted to the agency in the ORC, which is the Ohio Revised Code, for machinery, materials, supplies, or other articles, not solicited by DAS on other contracts. So there is a different group. They're not on the call right now, but we work with them very closely. Our Office of Contracts. They are responsible for conducting formal competitive solicitations, such as invitations to bid or requests for proposals. Essentially, when issuing these formal competitive solicitations, the goal is to enter into a formal contract with the awarded supplier. So that could be a single purchase contract, like a very specific need that was formally solicited via ITB, and it could be a term contract with one supplier or multiple suppliers. There are a lot of contracts and a very diverse set of needs that we have here at ODOT. So this, our Office of Contracts, as Michelle said, we're moving into Ohio Buys. They are actually already using the system to put out these formal solicitations for contracts. And just to give you guys kind of a sense, some of the most frequently used contracts at ODOT with multiple vendors on them include things like aggregate and asphalt, ready mix concrete. We also have equipment rental contracts, material hauling, even things like tree and brush trimming and removal services. So just a really big variety of goods and services that the agency as a whole is procuring on a regular basis. Okay, so we mentioned Ohio Buys a few times. I'll take a minute just to expand on it a little bit because this is a pretty relevant topic for us. We are moving to the system, like Michelle said, October 21st. We're partially in there right now as an agency in terms of our contracting, but we will be fully onboarded in our operating procurement purchasing next month. So this is going to be our one-stop shop for procurement. If you haven't heard of this system, it is an enterprise statewide use system. I believe you'll actually get into Ohio Buys more with a later presenter. This is used by nearly every agency. I know all the cabinet agencies are already onboarded. So nearly every agency within the state is using Ohio Buys for procurement. It really does streamline our processes. It really empowers the users from our side. We have all the contract data and supplier information that we need to get procurements done quickly and easily. And suppliers as well have their own access to the system where they can essentially monitor anything that they might need to do to win more opportunities for business or communicate with the state throughout a procurement. So this is kind of a roadmap that we actually have just shared. We're trying to share with our current suppliers that are in Ion Wave that might not be in Ohio Buys yet. We've shared this via email with suppliers that we have contact information of. So I'll just kind of quickly walk you through it. If you're wanting to work with Ohio and going forward doing that through Ohio Buys, the first thing you'll need to do is register for an OHID. That's the secure username that will allow you to create a password and log into systems like Ohio Buys and Ohio Pays. Once you access the system, you can begin learning how to navigate the system, all of the functionality, whether that's searching for for contracting opportunities or using messaging functionality if you're already going through a procurement with a state agency or hopefully with ODOT. You'll be able to complete your profile, updating your contact information, commodity codes, and other demographic information so that you can receive the proper bid notices and always be alert and aware of opportunities. And then also you can respond. You'll be submitting responses for RFQs or for term contracts, ITBs or RFPs directly in the system. And then therefore the awards and everything else can be moved forward through the system. And eventually, you know, we'll hopefully get suppliers like you be able to cut purchase orders and get you on contracts and move forward doing business together. This slide is essentially the same information I just showed you on that kind of roadmap there, but it does have all a various amount of links for all that information that you would need to get started. And I'll just make sure to share that with the presenters and organizers today so that you guys get all this information. That is all I have today. So if there are any questions for me or Michelle, we'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Michelle. Both of you guys gave a great presentation. Kara?
As of right now, there are no questions in the queue.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next speaker is Susan Steele. She's administrator of ODOT's Office of Consultant Services. She has worked in the procurement of consultant contracts for 14 years. Currently at ODOT's central office and previously at ODOT's District 6 consultant contract manager, and before procuring consultant contracts, she worked as a transportation engineer in District 6 for 8 years and as a traffic engineer in the consultant community for 5 years. So Susan graduated from the Ohio State University with a Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineer and a registered professional engineer in the state of Ohio. Susan, I'm going to go ahead and give you access, and you can go ahead and take it away.
Yes, thank you. So good afternoon as we continue our part 3, Ready, Set, Succeed. I'd like to give you an overview of how to utilize ODOT's consultant services processes to win project opportunities. And like Lorraine said, my name is Susan Staley, and I'm the administrator for ODOT's Office of Consultant Services. So who are we? Within the Ohio Department of Transportation's Division of Engineering, we are the Office of Consultant Services. Our office facilitates the hiring of consultants to perform design work. Our mission is to assist in procuring the services of consultants to support the mission of ODOT. We hire consultants to perform planning, environmental studies, design, bridge inspection, construction inspection, and right-of-way acquisition tasks. So these types of work are referred to as professional services in the Ohio Revised Code. As we've heard, other types of work may be advertised by other ODOT offices, but our office specifically procures consultants for these types of work categories. How do we hire consultants? Our office advertises groups of projects 3 times a year, and these group advertisements are called programmatics. So programmatics are advertised in January, May, and September. Occasionally, we might have a special programmatic if we need to advertise a singular project, possibly if there's a project schedule that can't wait until the next programmatic group, but those special programmatics are few and far between. So each regularly scheduled programmatic group usually contains between 50 and 70 projects, and each prime consultant can go after up to 8 projects in each programmatic group. Depending on the project, there might be pre-qualifications that are required. So for professional services, ODOT has 54 different technical pre-qualifications, and there's also a financial pre-qualification. So for example, just within the design pre-qualification category, there are 19 different pre-qualifications that a firm can get, such as non-complex roadway design, complex roadway design, bridge design level 1, bridge design level 2, safety studies, subsurface utility location services, various geotechnical services, and so on. So if you're interested in any of these different pre-qualification categories, I urge you to please refer to ODOT's Consultant Pre-Qualification Manual. Before I complete this presentation today, I will be pulling up our webpage to show you where some of these things are that I'm referencing today. What consultants do we hire? We hire firms of various sizes from small to large. Some firms may be DBE, the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise certified firms. Some may be the EDGE certified firms or SBE certified firms. And some professional services projects that we advertise will have assigned goals. It might be a DBE goal or an EDGE goal. And each programmatic, we typically have one project that is designated as an SBE set-aside project. If a project has a designated goal, it will be either a participation goal, which means that a minimum percentage of the final billings need to be performed by a DBE firm, if it's a DBE participation goal, or it would have to be performed by an EDGE firm if it's an EDGE participation goal. And if it's a different type of goal that we have is a development goal. So the department came up with the development goal program in an effort to help disadvantaged businesses get ODOT experience, help the firms become more self-sufficient, and ultimately also increase the pool of firms that ODOT can work with. The intent of the development program is for a prime consultant to develop a DBE or EDGE firm so they can learn and eventually become a prime consultant. When selecting consultants for professional services projects, the department must use a qualifications-based selection process in order to comply with federal regulations. So you may hear it referred to as a QBS process. And what it means is that ODOT cannot select firms based on cost. And this is pretty much the complete opposite of how construction contracts work, but this is specific to the professional services contracts. For each programmatic, as I had mentioned before, a firm can go after up to 8 projects in that group. So the firm will submit a letter of interest, which we call an LOI, and that will include information for each project they're going after, such as their proposed key staff, including subconsultants, the proposed project manager, their project approach, and any past performance history. If a newer firm doesn't have any performance history with ODOT, it's recommended to include relevant experience with other agencies or local municipalities. The LOI will also include a development plan if the project has been assigned a development goal. And then on our end, the firm's current workload is considered when we make our selections. Excuse me. The district that will be managing the project will review each LOI, score each of the selection categories, and provide comments regarding those scores. And then those scores and comments are published on our consultant services webpage for public viewing after the selections are announced. So it's not until after the selections are announced that we get into the cost portion. So our office, in combination with the districts, will negotiate fees with the prime consultant. The department, in conjunction with ACEC Ohio, several years back, it might be, goodness, maybe 6, 8 years now. But in conjunction with ACEC Ohio, we developed a fee guidance document that's used as a benchmark during negotiations. And per federal regulations, the goal of negotiations is to arrive at a fair and reasonable price for the advertised work. Once ODOT and the prime consultant agree to the fee, our office will execute the agreement, and at that point, the consultant will be notified that they're authorized to begin work. The department has a goal to execute all professional services agreements within 90 days of the selections being announced. At the completion of each consultant agreement, an evaluation is performed and provided to the consultant. If you remember from earlier, past performance is one of the selection criteria. So those evaluation scores can be used as input for the past performance category when the district is reviewing the LOIs. Just a couple other items that our office handles. We work with the department's goal setting committee when we do the goal setting specifically for professional services projects. We also occasionally have to deal with conflicts of interest and errors and omissions on the design plans. So I'd like to switch over to our web page and show you where some of the items are that we've discussed today.
Sure, just give me 1 second, Susan.
And sure, and this, for your reference, this is a link to our web page, but I believe this will be available for everyone after the presentation.
Lorraine, I can go ahead and give that presenter right over.
That's okay. She has it now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me know if you can't see that, but I think hopefully you can see that now. So our web page, consultant services web page, is organized to help guide new firms through the process, basically. So we start with some quick links here at the top of our page. So first, before a firm can be included on an LOI, either as a prime or a subconsultant, the firm has to register in our database as a professional services vendor. So this link has instructions on that process. If a firm wants to become pre-qualified in a technical category, there's a quick link here that will take you to more information on the pre-qualification categories and how to do that. Just note that not every project has required pre-qualifications, and not every work type has a pre-qualification. For example, we don't have a pre-qualification for survey work. That's just one of the types of work we don't have a pre-qual for. This is the link to additional information about DBE, EDGE, and SBE programs. Manuals and contract documents. This is a link to a couple of these manuals that I referenced before, such as the pre-qualification manual. If you click that link, you'll be able to find it there. And then this link here in the middle, email notifications. This is a link that I recommend checking out. Go ahead and click on it. So if you plan to pursue work with our office, I suggest signing up for these 3 consultant email subscriptions that are highlighted. So then you would be notified when we post an announcement to the industry, when we update our future programmatic lists, and when we post a request for letter of interest. You can sign up for any combination of those 3. And then lastly, this other quick link is just information on how to access ODOT's FTP site. So then as we scroll down, this next section on the left, this is where we post our announcements to the consultant industry. And basically this PDF link right here, this is a running tab of all of the announcements we've put out for the past year. So that's something good to pay attention to. Over on the right, we have our ODOT project notifications. So when we have an active programmatic posted, which we happen to have our September programmatic posted right now, but this is how you would access the that active programmatic with the instructions and a link to upload your LOI to the system. If you're interested in local projects, this link here, local project notifications, every Friday we post projects for our locals. So those projects can be found there. Excuse me, sorry about that. We have a link here to our future programmatic list. This is updated every Friday. I'll go ahead and click on this. And if you scroll down on this page, it'll show you a list of all the projects that we have planned for our January programmatic, projects that are planned for May of next year, and then September of next year and beyond. So we update those lists every Friday so the industry knows what's going to be coming their way. If you're interested in becoming pre-qualified, here is a specific section that provides a lot of that information. The pre-qualification manual, there's a link to a list of training courses. You can see which firms are pre-qualified and in which categories. And you can also see a list of individuals who are pre-qualified for construction inspection and right-of-way acquisition tasks. If you scroll one more to the right, there's our Pre-Q user guide. Pre-Q is the electronic system that's used to submit your pre-qualification requests. If you are selected for a project, the next section here would be helpful resources. This first link takes you to our SAFE system, which is where we do our fee negotiations for design projects. There's a link to our invoicing forms, the fee estimation guidance that I had mentioned, ODOT created in conjunction with ACEC Ohio that we use to benchmark our negotiations. And then some travel regulation information, such as the allowable mileage reimbursement. Then lastly, down at the bottom of our page, we have a link to our completed selections, those public-facing scores that I had mentioned. The employee information form that you would need to submit to our office if you do get selected for a project. And then there's a link to various reports that your firm can run. That's, for example, how you would see your evaluation scores after you complete a project. That would be accessed under this link. So I know that's a quick run through, but I thought that just giving some lay of the land might be beneficial. My last thing I want to show you here is the contact information. You can feel free to reach out at any time to any of the staff in our office, depending on what your question is. You can see who might be the best contact, but feel free to always reach out to me if you need assistance, and we'll get you all the help that we can. So thank you for listening, and with that, I will turn it back over.
Thank you, Susan. Great presentation, great information, and thank you for sharing your screen and where those links are located at and what they are. Sometimes just getting onto the site and trying to maneuver around is a really hard process, and we appreciate you just sharing that with us. So I am going to go ahead. I need to go ahead and I need to share my screen again. All right, and I am going to go ahead and turn this over to James Yagodich. So he is from the Ohio Department of Administrative Services, Office of Procurement Services Training Academy Manager. So the Training Academy is responsible for coordinating outreach education and training initiatives aimed at fostering strong relationships with agencies and suppliers and ensuring they are informed and empowered to engage effectively with Ohio's procurement processes. So through these efforts, they can help strengthen public procurement practices, enhance operational efficiency, and contribute to the overall success of DAS. So I'm going to go ahead and give this to you now, James, and let's work. And go ahead, take it away.
Awesome, thanks, Lorraine. I know we're supposed to be wrapping up around 3. Is that still? Can I go over a little bit, or is that time
no,
still?
You are fine. We've just got you and one more other speaker, and yes, and we'll go ahead and move forward.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks everybody for taking some time out of your day to learn more about these processes. And what I'm going to talk about is doing business with Ohio. And I'm going to go ahead and just transition here. Talk about how to do business with the state of Ohio. Again, my name is James Jogadich. I'm from the Office of Procurement Services, the Training Academy here. We focus on outreach, supporting the agencies to understand better practices so they can create better opportunities for you as potential suppliers and bidders. And we also do these presentations for the SBA groups, the MBACs, the PTACs, or now the APEX group, sorry. We're out there trying to assist even local political subdivisions and assistance to procurement practices and making those connections between those practices. But I think this is kind of what we all feel about when we do a state government, right? It's a maze. And is there a way out? Go left and it's dead end and have to go back, track back to another point to find out where you're going. And I kind of want to hopefully put some, debunk some opportunities of what myths were and kind of straighten out that maze into more of a, it may look like a squiggly line, but at least I'll have having some checkpoints and at least having some key milestones that'll help you know that you're moving forward rather than just going in the maze and never knowing if you're getting out or if you're just going to be stuck in there. So what does the state buy? I think I mentioned earlier some of those specific purchasing practice. I know here, large state contracts, we look at everything from IT to fleet vehicles to clothing to food to pharmaceuticals to personal services. We purchase helicopters for the Department of Natural Resources. We help put together procurements for the cash explosion lottery show. So everything and anything that you do with your business that has to be purchased to operate, we buy, and buy sometimes to a large degree to manage all of the other state agencies, boards and commissions, and making sure they have the right supplies and resources to effectively work for the state of Ohio. Approximately $5 billion are spent on purchases for a wide variety of supplies and services, just required for that daily operation. But out of that $5 billion, there's about $1.5 billion within DAS contracts that are awarded yearly. And that's just kind of what I want to talk about. There's opportunities. Sometimes people say, I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to win. I'm not going to have an opportunity. But there are a lot of opportunities for businesses, small and large, to participate in that collective whole. But there are some purchasing requirements that we at state agencies kind of have to go through the hurdles. We kind of have to jump from one to the next, just to stay in accordance with law and internal policies to make sure that we're spending taxpayer dollars with transparency and due diligence. Some of the purchasing requirements are, like I said, required by law. One of the first hurdles, I guess you could say, is the requisite program, the requisite procurement programs for the state of Ohio. If a resource, such as a product or a service, is available through this group, we have to be able to purchase through them. It could be the Ohio penal industry, where it's an inmate work program, or the community rehabilitation program, the CRP program, which is a legal requirement that it enables nonprofit organizations that employ adults with disabilities the opportunity to have state contracts and create a workforce. In addition, we have some internal state printing. We do printing, we do mailing for all the agencies. We have to, again, go through a process and making sure we're checking off those boxes and see if they can provide that service. Now, if none of the procurement program opportunities exist, we then can go look at current established contracts that we've already negotiated and competed for products, supplies, and services, and use those contracts. Now, some of those contracts are mandatory, but some are optional. So it just comes down to what we're trying to purchase and how that contract is set up. So the first hurdle, we have to follow the law. The second hurdle, we have to use what we have. The third hurdle, getting to the next part, is kind of where the current opportunities exist, are if we cannot find anyone to provide that internally and we don't have a contract, we can then go forward and create a new contract. That contract has to be put together in a competitive selection process. There's three key processes that we follow here from the DAS organization. That one, that's an invitation to bid, which usually has clear specifications where the lowest responsive and responsible bidder is awarded, and then it's also a quick process. So for example, Department of Natural Resources has a youth fishing program every year, and they need to buy 5,000 fishing poles. They have a very clear type of fishing pole, a specific number, and there's no other room for interpretation. It is what they need. So as long as the bidders, suppliers, are putting in bids for that, and they are including all the necessary documentation, they're providing whatever lowest price they can get, the state will award based on the lowest price, as long as they meet those needs. Again, now this is kind of a little different. The next one is the request for proposal, the RFPs. We have a lot of these, we call them out on the street. The RFPs are out on the street, and those are typically tied to a request that's not really clearly defined. A good example would be an accounting software system for the state. We need to upgrade it. It's out of date, but we're not sure exactly if we need X, Y, or Z. So we kind of have a vague request, and suppliers and bidders can come back with potential options, and where we score those responses for best value to the state. There may be items that are overpriced that have, not much offered, or they may be too low with too much, and maybe there's something that we can see between the lines that we're gonna have to pay more down the road. But the state looks at what's going to be the best value. And those are just typically, those can take up to a year. Our Ohio Buys has been mentioned. Our Ohio Buys building process for the RFP took 18 months. So there's a lot of steps, and some of that, it's not as fast and as quick as the invitation to bid process. The other competitive selection process that we do have is the reverse auction. It's more commodity sensitive, and we have to have pre-qualified suppliers, the lowest responsible bidder, just like a normal auction, but we go down the price. Who's willing to pay the least amount to be able to win that bid? So we've checked our internal process, we've followed the law, we found out no contract exists, and we have to follow one of these three options based upon the commodity or the specific need we're looking for. Now, kind of off to the side here, we're going to talk about OHID. I know we mentioned it, but OHID is an important identifier where each person accessing Ohio Buys must have their own OHID. And just as clarification, if you are a single business owner and there's no one else in your business, it's just you, you do have to have an OHID. Now, if you have other people assisting you, maybe responding to emails and responding to bids, they're going to have to register themselves as an OHID. Now, if you're currently a supplier who's actually receiving a purchase order and receiving payments from the state, there's no need to re-register. They're just adding the tile that was mentioned earlier. But again, every supplier who will utilize a system will need to have their own HID and be listed as a contact with an assigned role. We'll talk about roles here in a second. But Once you have created that OHID and you've registered as a bidder, or if you're currently a supplier, and that registration process is complete, you are able to log in to Ohio Buys and update and manage your company profile. One of the important things, again, is adding contacts. These contacts are available to help with the order. They're helping with revenue share if you're part of a contract that perhaps is like that. But you're able to update basic company details. You're able to associate certain roles for the staff, or maybe you're just the overall admin, it's just you. You're able to identify additional information such as counties served. You may just want to serve and receive opportunities just in Franklin County. Maybe it's Cuyahoga, maybe it's Hamilton, or you can select all of them to further cast a wider net of opportunity. And as well as commodity codes. This Ohio Buys procurement system provides an opportunity of you creating a profile that has specific commodity codes that will help you get notifications based upon those purchases here at the state. And just a highlight, within the context, you may have multiple locations. That's common, or maybe you're just starting, maybe it's out of your garage, like Microsoft one day was, and in building that process. But you can actually have multiple locations if you have a billing location, a shipping location, depends on if you're at multiple areas across state. You can actually add those to your company profile as well. But talking about commodity codes, identifying and adding those specifically to your profile. Now, here at the state of Ohio, we use the UNSPSC codes. Those specific codes are what we've decided to label our goods and services, and those are the things that were mentioned again as earlier. When a bid goes out, a solicitation is asking for you to respond and respond with bids. It may associate to aggregate, it may associate to IT services or Microsoft Outlook software. So it all has a specific code that's associated. And that just helps us gear what types of purchases are. When we do yearly spend analysis, we're able to identify where those high areas of spend are, but also it helps us identify the particular areas that we're requesting goods and services from, and we can categorize that. But within your profile, you're able to select multiple commodity codes. If your business provides one, you build one widget, that's in there. But if your office builds multiple widgets, different types of widgets, and provides services and provides other things, you want to make sure you're adding as many that are applicable to your business. You are required to at least have one to start with. That way it could be your main commodity, your main widget that you're producing, and as your business grows, you can add additional things. But that particular commodity will provide you email notifications that will come to you that'll let you know that there's a specific solicitation that meets the requirements of, for example, on the screen here, let's say novelty paper. You're in the paper business and that's your thing. And if there is a 141111600 commodity code selected on a solicitation, you're going to get an automatic email letting you know that's out there, so you can go out and participate in that. But at the high level, if anything underneath that, you're going to be notified as well, because it falls under that reporting, that communication effort that we do within the Ohio Buys platform. Now, there's two ways of view a solicitation, like I just mentioned. If you've gone in and you've got your profile, you've got everything associated, and you've got your admin or your bid response team out there, they'll get an email when that solicitation has been created and sent out based upon that commodity code. But there's also a way of just looking at the public solicitation page where anybody in the public can go out and look. You don't have to be logged in any specific username or password. It's an ability that just any one of us can go out there and look. It's a great idea too, as you're getting interested in Ohio Buys and getting interested in doing business with the state at all different levels, is to see what's out there. There's current opportunities for those with MBE only. There's opportunities for open bidding, so anyone with any type of registration, whether it's public or veteran or whether it's women-based enterprises, all of those, everyone can actually see those as well. But there are some steps if there are particular solicitations that may have MBE requirements. But to do that, when going to Ohio Buys and logging in, or just going to the main homepage, and I do believe throughout this presentation there are hyperlinks within this that'll be able to be launched, and some of the links that were shared earlier take you to a lot of these places I'm going through. And I've got a longer list at the end of the presentation that covers a lot of additional resources for that. But as you can see here, left side of the screen, the public solicitations, I can click right now, or right now, if you're online, you're watching this presentation, you've got an extra browser tab, you can type in ohiobuys.ohio.gov and it'll take you there and you can open that. And what that does is provide you a list of all public solicitations that are available to you to look at, to bid on, to respond on. It ranges from a quick quote, what like we call that, maybe it's a very specific item that we're looking for, an air purifier here, you can see in that very top line, or maybe it's a door repair, or it's a particular piece of equipment. We do have those requests for purchases. We've got those information to bid solicitation types as well. When you get everything, that's the great thing about Ohio Buys, is when you go through that and you're looking through it, you get everything. You don't have to like put a lot of filters on to figure out how to get something. We give you everything at first, and then we give you this great search bar. Then you're able to kind of pare it down to where it makes sense to you. For the MBE community, if you're looking for those specific set-asides, you can just filter based upon that. You can filter on keywords. Maybe it's gravel, maybe it's chip and seal, maybe it's office supplies. Those types of things, if you're looking at those types of opportunities, you'll be able to filter through those. And as well as commodity as well. If you have a UNSPSC code and you're looking for party paper, or there was one, there was live plants and animals. You could filter based upon that and just see what depends on your business's opportunities and you're trying to connect with the state. Now, what you want to do is when you do find one, if you do open one, a lot of great detail is provided to you. It talks about the day the actual bid is open. It tells you when it ends. There's actually inquiry dates, and those are public Q&A opportunities where you can ask questions. Other people ask questions. Maybe the summary is not quite clear. Maybe the instructions, the bid isn't as clear as the agency thought it was. You can see if it's an MBE set aside. You can see additional documents. There's a contract document. Maybe if there's a site visit. Sometimes we have a lot of particular solicitations that have site visit. You have to be at the site to visit to be able to put the bid in following that. So it's a lot of information that's provided to you within that particular line item. And then, like I talked about, the document. There could be attachments, scope of work, our terms and conditions that come with the contract, instructions to you as a bidder, maybe there's a certification form. We can add all different types of documents, and it's all right there included in that one line. What's great about that, now if you do have a question, you can send an inquiry. Gives you the ability to type it in right there in the box, get feedback about that, so you know that maybe this is something we want to bid on, or now I've got more information, this isn't quite what I thought it was going to be, and maybe I'll pass this time. Inquiries do allow you the opportunity. When I say public Q&A, so if you ask a question, it'll be reviewed and an answer will be provided to you on the public page. It isn't to you personally. If you try to reach out to an analyst across the state and try to get an unfair advantage, we're going to be like, sorry, you have to go through the Q&A process and make sure you log that in there so that everyone has a chance, because we want a fair and transparent process for all. And just quickly talk about responding to a solicitation. So you found one, you're interested in, like, now I've got my OHID, I've got my company profile. Now I want to respond to a solicitation. Couple key steps you have to go through once you're ready. You have to accept terms and conditions. You have to respond to the documents that are included. There could be a spreadsheet with price listing that you have to provide for what your the solicitation is for. Another opportunity, you can add colleagues that can help you respond to a solicitation. Maybe if there's parts of that solicitation that you're not responsible at your business, you can have other people reply with that. And all completed responses will be able to see a confirmation flag, so that'll help you know that there's a time date stamp that associates that, so that you know that you sent that in, that the submitted response was received. So again, just some important things, like you'll have to agree to the terms and conditions. Make sure you review all the tabs and review all the documents before you finalize your submission, because many times in that information and bid, as I mentioned earlier, responsive and responsible, if you did not submit the document that was required, once the document, the bid has been received and you don't have that, you'll be disqualified from being included in that opportunity. Only the people who have responded with the proper documents and have the lowest price, that person is ideally going to be the one that the contract, the purchase order is awarded to for that information and bid. So just keep that in mind. It's always important to double check, dot your I's, cross your T's in this process. Now, if you go through a process, Ohio Buys provides the ability to amend that or withdraw a response. It's a great opportunity, because like now I responded. Now the questions that came up, for instance, someone has more information. Now it's like, I don't think that's something we want to get involved in. Again, you can withdraw your response. Gives you that ability with not maybe being pushed into that. You can wait for the next opportunity. So once the bids have been sent in and you've completed that submission date, that timeline, the bids are reviewed. No one can ask anything about that. So if you're anxious about what you submitted, to say, like, I know it's a good price and I want to make sure, I'm going to reach out to whoever may be listed, we're not allowed to have any conversation until after the actual award has been completed. That award, like I mentioned, the invitation to bid is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. Then we actually award it straight to a contract/purchase order within the Ohio Buys public portal, and anyone and everyone can see that. So if like you put in your bid and you missed it by 2 pennies, you can go out there and do some market research and see who won, what type of bid they put in. Maybe it's by nickel, maybe it's by $5, or even greater. You'll be able to see actually who won that particular award. As for requests for proposals, they're evaluated, they're scored, they go through an extensive process of consensus groups, validating the scope of work, looking for the best value before that award can be delivered. So one of the key takeaways when you are responding is to make sure you are validating the time that the bid closes. Each agency has different times. Some are standardized at 1 o'clock, some are at 5 p.m., some have midnight timelines. You have to make sure you're watching that open and end date to make sure that you don't miss an opportunity, because once the door closes in an electronic system, there's no way to bypass that. The door is shut and the bid is closed. There's no way to get around that. So always remember that. Now, resources. This is a great takeaway. I know some of these have been mentioned earlier, but this is the Department of Administrative Services Procurement Services website. This is a great resource for you as you're starting out to understand about being a bidder and supplier with procurement practices and how that resource of Ohio Buys. But here on our homepage, which in the link there, takes you to the bidders and suppliers page. When you open that, it provides a wealth of additional information. And each one of these little widgets, there are additional web pages that talk more about selling to the state, more about how the state buys, some of the things I talked about today, using Ohio Buys, submitting a response, Ohio Buys training. My team is part of the group that supports the call desk. When you have an issue or a question, our team takes that call, we work with you, we work through some of those questions you may have as you're working through Ohio Buys, or maybe even as a supplier, even a bidder. We also do training on a monthly basis. We do have additional webinars where we really take what I've talked about today and dive deeper into there, because there's a lot of things I know you've heard today and a lot of additional acronyms and links and things of that nature. It's a great opportunity to just get focused on one topic and dive a little bit deeper. But these are additional site links. As I go through the top, selling the state, like I just mentioned, Ohio Pays is another thing mentioned, where if you're a supplier, you're looking to be an Ohio payee, you can be registered. Ohio Interactive Budget tells you where all the state agencies are spending their money and what types of things they're buying. The Ohio Political Subdivisions, those are additional agencies, as we call them, that have to purchase certain particular products, but they also partner with us and are part of our cooperative purchasing program, and they buy things as well. So your local fire departments, your libraries, your K through 12 schools, a lot of those additional resources, the cities, the townships offices, they all buy things across the state. There's 88 counties, and I believe we have up to, I think there's 3,300 complete cooperative purchasing groups out there, and there's about maybe 2,000 are registered with us. So it's a great resource to go in there and maybe have additional opportunities for marketing your widgets or services to those groups as well. But a lot of great information here, links and things we've gone over today, as well as our Ohio Buys supplier webinars. We just had one last week, just basic access and navigating. This Friday, we have a great one. It talks about responding to that. We cover how to go through the responding process. So if you're interested, or maybe you need to wait until October 11th, that's part one again. And every month we have a 1 to 2, 1 to 3, depends upon on the timing and the holidays, that we have these live webinars that you can actually participate. My team is delivering those live Q&A. We work through those questions and actually deliver the information to make sure that you have a little more comfort level with being able to use our Ohio Buys platform.
Hey, James, we are
Yes.
going to have to wrap it up to our last and final speaker. Go ahead.
No problem. I was saying this is the last slide.
Oh, good.
So just, again, yeah, this is just the link to the webinar. So if you get a chance, and then just the next slide, the ending one, this is just a call desk like we mentioned earlier in the slides that talks about reach out with a question. If you're trying to register or having issues, you can contact that for support Monday through Friday.
Wonderful. Thanks, James. Wow.
Sorry about that.
Great information. No, you're fine. What great information. So for our last and final person that's going to be speaking today, we have Danielle Thompson. So she's a dedicated and personal professional with over 14 years of diverse experience, mainly in human resources. She is currently serving as a certification outreach specialist for the Ohio Department of Development for the Minority Business Assistance Center, and which is housed in the African American Chamber of Commerce. So Danielle excels in assisting minority-owned businesses in scaling, organizing, and taking their operations to the next level. I'm going to go ahead and stop there, Danielle, so you can go ahead and get on your presentation, and then I'm going to go ahead and give you access to the presentation and take it away.
All right, so let me make sure everything is moving? Yes, it is. All right. So hello, everyone. My name is Danielle Thompson. I am located in Cincinnati, Ohio. So if you need anything, if you're in this area, we cover 17 counties in this area. So even if you're in some of the rural areas that's close to Cincinnati, we are able to assist you here at the Minority Business Assistance Center. This is my team. And so just wanted to make sure to make you aware and that all of our services here are free. And so I always like to tell people that because it's expensive being an entrepreneur and going after certain certifications and just the process of being educated on different things. So definitely want to let you know that our services are free. Let me see. The next slide is just kind of covers quickly what does a Minority Business Assistance Center help with. We do business assistance, certification assistance, financial assistance, and marketing services. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my camera. But I'm going to jump in. Earlier, one of my colleagues, Kathy, kind of briefly went over, just the different certifications and the benefits. So just to recap, for the state of Ohio, they have 4 certification programs that are free: MBE, WBE, EDGE, and Veteran Friendly Business Enterprise. So I'm going to talk more about the access to capital programs that are usually or that are associated with some of our certifications. So talking about the first one is the Ohio Micro Loan Program. And the Ohio Micro Loan is designed to stimulate the growth of new and existing businesses by providing micro loans at a 0% interest. So right now, if you were to go, let's say, to your traditional bank in order to get a small business loan, right now you're looking at about a 5.2% to 6% to 11% interest rate. And so the microloan is our most popular loan program here at the state of Ohio because it's a 0% interest. So the minimum is $10,000 with the maximum being $45,000. And some other things that I love to make sure that I mention about this program is that they don't look at your personal credit. So as long as you've been in business for at least 1 year, you are, completed your business taxes. And I can't stress that enough. Even if you do not make a significant or a profit, maybe you lost this year, you still want to complete those business taxes. And I'll get into some of the documents that are required for certification. And a lot of people can't complete their certification because they have not done or completed their taxes. So with the MBE, you will, in order to get, the micro loan, you have to first be MBE certified. So that is why it's very important that if you aren't certified, that is one of the biggest benefits, is having that access to capital. And some people say, like, what are the benefits to having access to capital? I tell people all the time, opportunities for growth and expansion, increased competitiveness against, who you're competing against in the marketplace, improves cash flow. A lot of times, small business, you're using a lot of your startup front money that you're trying to keep with your daily cash flows. So being able to have access to capital at a 0% interest rate is always something that our entrepreneurs and small business owners are really excited about. Now, next you will see, make sure I do it right. All right, it's the Women Business Enterprise Program. So with the Women Business Enterprise Loan, you have to, of course, just be 51% owned and controlled by a woman. And so they have a really, really attractive loan program, which is the Women Business Enterprise Loan. And so with that loan program, now, you don't have to be certified as a WBE. So if you're not certified, you're at least 51% owned by a woman, you could apply for this loan. This loan is very attractive as well for a woman business enterprise because the minimum is $45,000 and the maximum is $500,000 for that women business enterprise loan. And so you can use those funds for machinery or equipment, or even owner-occupied real estate. And so some of that, there is a 3% interest rate if you are not certified as a state WBE. But if you are certified as a WBE, then the interest rate is 1.5%. So therefore, this is also a very attractive program to help either completing, any type of enhancements that you need to make for your business, or just renovations to your already existing real estate, the use of funds for this program is amazing. So I always tell people we have 8 programs, financial and incentive programs across the state. And so you can find all of that at www.development.ohio.gov. And it's just a great way to go on there and really look at all of those access to capital programs. So as I move along, I'll keep going because I definitely want to go ahead and talk about the documents that are needed for certification. Of course, Kathy already spoke about EDGE, which is encouraging diversity, growth, and equity, and what that looks like. Also, she spoke about the veteran-friendly enterprise as well. And I talk about the application process because a lot of times we talk about, hey, you should get certified, but not necessarily then what. So basically, with the application process, coming to the Minority Business Assistance Center, we hold your hand through that process. You come in, we go over extensively the checklist, what those items look like. We can help prepare those. We have financial advisors at all of our MBAC offices for free. So one of the barriers that we found was that a lot of business owners, they have some of the documents, but they do not have their taxes, or they don't have access to having completed those financial documents without an extra fee. So therefore, we all have in-house a financial advisor that can create the balance sheet, the cash flow statement, and profit and loss to help get you through that process quicker. And again, for free. I love throwing that out there because a lot of times to get assistance or to get help or to get educated, you have to pay all of these different costs. And here at the Minority Business Assistance Center under the Department of Development, it is free. So basically, once you come in, we go over all the document. You submit it through the Ohio Business Gateway. We have a video that's very user-friendly that kind of walks you through that process. And then what happens once it gets submitted? It goes through a review process. Right now, it takes usually, I tell people, anywhere from 60 to 90 days to get your application approved. During that time, they're reviewing documents. They're also going to do a virtual interview with you in your space that you say is like your either home office or your brick and mortar. And then it's the approval. It's good for 2 years. You can get recertified. And the beautiful thing here in Cincinnati is that we have reciprocity with the city of Cincinnati. So if you have an MBE and you get certified through the state and you want to do a cross certification with the city of Cincinnati per se, you can do that under the MBE certification. So this right here is the required document checklist. And so actually, hold on, it's moving. Go back one. All right. Now it's actually covering a little bit of my presentation. So I'll just talk quickly through what some of the documents are. But the first is just the passport or birth certificate, your last year's state of Ohio tax return, and that is important. So when I say making sure that your taxes are done and completed, you want to make sure that you're doing your taxes, your personal, your state, federal, and business taxes. Then you want to have your business bank account letter, and it just basically states who has authorized or who has signature authority over that business bank account. Then you'll see number 4 and 5 being the personal taxes for the last 3 years, and number 5 being, again, the business taxes for the last 3 years, along with your balance sheet, your cash flow, your profit and loss statement. And remember what I said, as long as you go through a Minority Business Assistance Center, and there are other partners that we have that also can assist, we will help you with those financial documents. What it will be that we would need from you is just organizing those documents, and we'll talk a little bit more about that on your one-on-one meeting when you meet with us either in person or virtually. Your facility lease or ownership documentation for the space that you use as your office, any previous business loans that you may have that are outstanding, an equipment list. And one thing when people talk about this, they say, oh, I don't have that, I don't have equipment. If you are, let's say, I don't want to necessarily say a salon because they do have some equipment, but let's just say you're a notary or something to that extent. You don't necessarily have equipment, but you may have a laptop that you use for your business. You may have a printer. So those are the things that they're looking for. What do you need to use for your business on a daily basis? That is what would be listed on your equipment list. And then number 12 is your subcontractors or suppliers use. Now, we do understand that sometimes you don't necessarily have signed agreements with suppliers, but let's say you do have a salon, you own a salon, and one of your suppliers is you get some items from Amazon, then providing receipts from people who you actually make purchases for from your business would be able to be that agreement that we're speaking of if it's not a signed contract with the supplier. And then 13 being 2 of your largest signed contracts. Again, you have to manipulate it sometimes because if you don't necessarily have signed contracts, but you have invoices, or you can use your QuickBooks per se for the last 2 months of your transactions, your detailed transactions. And then unit certificate and unit journal is something that you can find also on development.ohio.gov that will kind of go along with who is the owner of the business, how is the business split up as far as the partnership, or if you are sole owner of the business 100%, but you would be able to complete those 2. And then a regular resume. The state wants to just see what have you been doing now that you're a business owner and what is your previous experience. It just shows sometimes being a well-rounded entrepreneur, or really what kind of guided you to be able to have that business. So they want a full look of what that resume looks like for you. Some other requirements, if you are doing EDGE or veteran friendly business enterprise, they do have additional documents that are also located on our website, again at development.ohio.gov. And again, after certification, what is next? So the gentleman who spoke earlier talked about some of those biddings, you know, on the contracts for using Ohio Buys in the different training sessions. I always recommend people just set up Ohio Buys. You do not have to be certified to use Ohio Buys or to start bidding on Ohio Buys, but it's a really great resource for when we have people who come to us, it's like, hey, they need help writing a bid, or can we give them a bid template? The beautiful thing about Ohio Buys is you can see previous bids that were awarded and be able to look at those bids that were submitted and that got the contract to see how were they able to answer the, you know, the bid. What did they put in there? How was it set up? What was the template like? And be able to use that to leverage how your bids look. Also, another certification benefit after is being able to attend certain networking events and training and development opportunities. I always tell people, when you're thinking about certification, it's like having the credibility to say, you know what, I have been vetted by the state of Ohio. I really am a minority, a women-owned business in the state of Ohio. And it helps leverage you too when you're going to corporations pitching, because sometimes you get into rooms or you get onto that site and you may not see something that directly correlates to you. So that's when you have to start looking outside the box. And an example that I was told when I first started here was that a woman owned a hair salon. She wasn't really seeing any contracts or bidding opportunities on Ohio Buys, and she ended up I'm not sure exactly how she went about it, but she really just pitched an opportunity to say, hey, what about I come into some of your local jails, your state prisons basically, and do the women's hair there to maybe help build their confidence. Maybe it'll make them be a better inmate. Just pitch something to them. And she was awarded a contract that was not previously there. So when I say to the entrepreneurs, think outside the box. Don't box yourself in. Go after these certifications, because it does make you seem very credible, and it shows that you have your stuff together. Even if sometimes you don't know day by day how you're doing, but it shows that you are keeping up with your taxes, you're keeping up with your financials, and you're doing the work that you need to do. For the certifications, like I said, it's good for 2 years. So you do have to get recertified. Now, you don't have to complete the entire certification documents, but making sure that you are giving the last 2 years of those financials, so your taxes again, and updated financials as far as the balance sheet, cash flow statement, and things like that. Does anyone, well, actually, I know they'll let me know if there were any questions for me.
Tara?
There are currently no questions for you.
Wow. Wow. And that was really great information. All the presenters that we've had here today. And I think you have a survey, right, Danielle, that you'd like to take?
Yes. if you all can do that survey, it would just help just make it better when if you even have advice or just giving us something that, or a service that you didn't see or hear that we can be able to help you with. We would love for you to complete that survey, please.
And that's so important. We want to make sure that we're getting out the right information, but how do we know that? By participating in these surveys and giving that information out, we're allowing you guys to feed us the information that we need to help you. So whatever you feel that you think that could make her presentation, to add on to it, please feel free, click on the link there or do that QR code, take her survey and give yourself a voice for your business. Thank you. I appreciate it, Danielle. That was a great presentation. So as we wrap up today's session, and I know we went a little over, I want to take a moment to thank all of our incredible presenters. Their hard work, dedication, and expertise in their respective fields are evident in the knowledge that was shown here today. So they've provided invaluable information to support not only the series, but your success as well. So please join me in extending our gratitude to each of them for their contributions today. We look forward to seeing you for the final part of our series on Thursday, September 19th for part 4, Forging Alliances, Cultivating Connections with Mentorship, and Fostering Positive Relationships. Our final episode will focus on the importance of mentorship and fostering these relationships to help small businesses thrive in Ohio. So we'll address concerns and challenges and explore strategies for building sustainable partnerships for mutual benefit. So thank you again. I want to open up the floor again. So if there are any questions, I want to give someone the opportunity if they have them.
Thank you, Lorraine. We actually do not have any questions. So just to reiterate what Lorraine said, on behalf of LTAP and ODOT, I also would like to thank our incredible presenters once again for sharing their valuable knowledge and expertise with us. As mentioned earlier, the recording of this webinar will be shared with all registered attendees. And thank you all for attending. And we hope you found this webinar very informative and engaging. Have a wonderful rest of your day.